there are two new things today. First, I'm using a digital camera from work, which is an actual video camera, so this hopefully will improve the video a little bit. And I also have a new push mower. It's a, I think it's a 6 horsepower, 21-inch yards machines. It's from my uncle, and he bought it brand new at Sam's Club a couple years back. And apparently it just never ran right. It just didn't do a good job mowing. Then he started having some runnability issues with it, and he rebuilt the carburetor, I guess, and just never could really get it to go. So he was going to throw it away. Of course I said, no, give it to me, I'll take it. And so I'm not really quite sure what's wrong with it yet, but I will tell you a couple things. I got it a couple days ago, and I said, well, let's see if it'll even start. So I put some gas in the tank, hit the primer button on the carburetor here probably like 20 times, and gave the pull cord a nice hard pull, and it fired right up and it ran great, as far as I could tell, of course, with no load on it, just the blade. Of course, the dead man control is seized, so I ended up pulling the spark plug wire to get it to shut down, and of course in that one pull I ruined the recoil rope, so we'll have to get a new rope for that. But it ran great, and it's tilted like this right now because a couple hours later I was in the garage and I smelled gasoline, and oh man, the carburetor. I haven't really quite looked where, but let me turn the camera, that way it'll look normal, is leaking somewhere. So I couldn't get the fuel line off, so I just said, well, I'll pitch it up like this. There's not a lot of gas in it, that's why. So we got to figure out what's wrong with the carburetor. And I was going to fix it and sell it, but it occurred to me that, you know, it would be really nice to have a bush mower, something that I could get out there and clean up the woodlot and stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and essentially use it in-house. It is self-propelled, which is a first ever here. I've never had a self-propelled push mower like this before, but we might end up putting a smaller blade on it just so it'll have more tree grinding capability. I don't know, but it is a 6 horsepower, which is the biggest push motor we've ever used here. Probably be a nice little project, and this video is probably the intro of more about getting it going. Okay, moving along, this is a 3-in-1 unit, so it had a bagger attachment, and it's a discharge mower, and I guess a mulching, I guess it could also do as well. It's only set up for side discharge now, so I got rid of all the bagging stuff. I pulled this off for now to get access to the motor. Finally got my gas line disconnected, drained out whatever gas I had left in there. It was bone dry when I had it. I put gas in it just recently, so that's good gas. Got to take this big shroud off, or this gas tank slash coolant protector, what have you, because I got to get to the recoil starter so I can get new rope for it, because that's the only problem with it. So we're moving right along. Quite a bit of rust, lots of pine needles. I'm not cleaning it up any. Well, I'll get all the debris off it, but I'm not going to per se paint or do anything like that. It did have a neat little filter element that lived up front there, but I don't think we're going to have any big problems once we get in there and figure out what's leaking. Shows you how much I work on these engines. Just replacing or pulling off a trim ring reveals 2 little 1/4-inch screws that allows the recoil starter to come right off. Make sure my passages are clean, and I'll replace the rope on this thing so I can give her good pulls in the future. Okay, with a few simple taking out a few bolts and some gaskets. This is the air cleaner assembly and the primer. Taking that apart, left the carburetor here with the throttle fan governor connected. It's a 1-speed unit, so it just runs off the governor. And coming to find out, I took apart our, geez, I could have done this with it on the mower, but this little, on the bottom of the bowl here, we had this screw and a very destroyed O-ring. So that's where our leak was. You can see it's wet right now. So I'm going to keep on going, make sure everything's nice and clean inside. But I have plenty of O-rings, so I'm going to just replace that baby. Stick it back together again, change the rope in my recoil starter, and keep going. Well, here's the bowl assembly, and I've cleaned it out with some WD-40, but it looks pretty clean. I'm not too concerned over anything that's in there. Our screw mechanism rolls in here, and there's a little plunger in here. And note that there is a rubber ring deep in that machine there. I pulled it out, it looks great, so I put it back in, made sure it was sitting flush, and then I'm going to go ahead and put the plunger back in, and then the screw essentially pushes on the spring there, and that'll provide some sort of resistance squirting around with it and such. It's directed right here to our main needle probably. So this is some sort of needle valve assembly, I guess. I'm not too sure. I hate plastic stuff, but anyway. Float works, so we're good with that. So we're going to reassemble. Nice gasket on the block here, and I'll probably put a little bit of sealant on the carburetor there because I did damage the gasket a little bit and I don't want any air leaks. So I'll probably put a little bit of make your own gasket material on there, squish the whole thing together, and reattach everything and put a little gas in it and see if it holds. It should, but we'll make sure. Alright, we're all back together again. Got the air cleaner back on, got the carburetor together. It's not leaking. It was dripping right, like I say, from that screw right there. And it's not dripping anymore thanks to that new O-ring. After priming the snot out of it, it fired right up. I did some bush hogging since that's what its new life is, so I jacked it up all the way. These wheels have bearings in them, and these pins, which just essentially bolt through, and you can adjust the height by where the hole is on the side, had pretty much frozen in there. So I had to pound the snot out of those to get them out so I could get it on the high. And the dead man switch does kind of work. It moves enough to kill the machine. I mean, the lever won't fall over, but if you open it manually, there's enough spring force that will actually kill the spark and stop the motor. So that's great. And the self-propelled drive is wonderful. And I'm going to go ahead and give it a quick pull here. It should fire right up. It's warm. I'll go show you some of the devastation it had done. That didn't sound very healthy there, but trust me, it runs nice. And here's a huge batch of poison ivy and various plants and stuff that grows along the road there. And, that power option is really nice. You just push, squeeze, and go, and as long as there aren't any big rocks or stumps, fun, fun, fun.